Next up, someone who's taking on traditional industry and crushing it. In 2014, he was named one of Fortune magazine's 40 Under 40. And his company has been called the Uber of trash cycling. Don't tell Logan Green. It's co-founder and CEO of Rubicon Global, Nate Morris. Mr. Morris is joined by investor matchmaker, a convener of capital, founder and CEO of Nima Capital Partners, Suna Saeed.
So thank you. We're so proud to be here for Robinhood. As many of you know, 23,000 children in New York City are homeless every single night. That is enough children to fill Madison Square Garden. And thank you to Robinhood for helping so many of our neighbors build better lives for themselves and their families. This is an incredibly meaningful event towards that aim. So thank you to everybody who's here for that today. So Nate, I'm so happy to be here with you, and so proud to be investing in a company whose last financing I led and was so happy to be working so closely with you on. Your company is disruptive, it's green, it's cutting edge, and it's generating returns. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Rubicon Global?
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's such an honor to be here at Robinhood. And thank you to everyone who's here and for this incredible cause. I think we're the only people today talking about garbage. So I think you might find this particularly interesting, what we're doing. But Rubicon essentially is a platform that's looking and seeking to change the way we engage in this country and the world in the waste and recycling industry. And essentially, our proposition comes down to two things. We think that we can accomplish two goals, and that's to essentially reduce the cost of waste and recycling, and then also provide incredible environmental solutions to actually divert material away from landfill. And we're using technology to essentially engage thousands and thousands of independent haulers around the country to provide service for some of the biggest companies, the Fortune 500s, and really provide a different solution than what you see in the two major companies that many of you all cover here today.
So essentially, you're completely disrupting the entire waste management industry.
We like to think so, and we believe that the platform that we've created, and Google talks about this a lot, is restacking the industry and really preparing us, the consumer, but also businesses for the next 50 years in how we engage in this category of waste and recycling and how we do it the most responsible way possible. Many folks don't know this, but the major companies today in the United States make all their money by landfilling. So many of you all think of the big waste companies as big trucking and logistical plays, but in actuality, they're real estate plays. They own their landfills, and they're trying to take your garbage and put it into the landfill asset that they own and essentially charge you rent on that garbage every month. And there's been a lot of talk recently in the press, and I'm sure many of us in the crowd have heard about this, that recycling is not a profitable exercise or venture. And that's because the majority of the recycling is being done by the landfill companies. And
sorry, quick question. What percentage of their EBITDA comes from landfill waste?
roughly about 80%.
Wow.
So what we want to do is obviously we commend the folks that have been in this space for generations. They've done a job that many people would never want to do. And we're so lucky that we live in a country and we have a system that we can throw something away and not worry about it. It just kind of disappears, and we never think about it again. But we're here to say we want to offer a different solution that's driven by technology and that's appropriate for the 21st century. You think about the typical waste companies today, the big ones at least, they're using 19th century processes, 20th century technology, and we're looking to bring this industry into the 21st century.
So essentially, by not owning the landfills and being able to make money on recycling, you're not only saving customers costs, but you're also more environmentally friendly.
That's right. And I know we heard from T. Boone Pickens earlier, and I know he has a certain persuasion, and there's a lot of folks here that have a different persuasion. But I believe waste is the issue that can unite this country around the environmental movement. And it's an easy win for all of us to say, we can produce less garbage if we take a look at the way that we're currently engaging in the market. So we're incredibly optimistic about the opportunity we have at Rubicon, not just from a business side, because let's face it, there's a lot of garbage out there today, and we want it all. But the other side of that is that I believe that business can have tremendous impact on the world. And we started this company with the idea that we could solve this big problem and that the free market could lead. Kevin Warsh just talked a lot about the economy, and I think his remarks were very interesting. And look, I would bet on the entrepreneurs and the business people in this room to solve the problems of our country rather than Washington. So, I believe this is a great way for us to really tackle a big environmental challenge.
And this market has historically been dominated by two players, correct?
That's right. It's a classic duopoly, and there's been very little, if any, innovation. And the technology is reminiscent of the 1980s that you would see in the major companies, and that's okay. Certainly, they've done great work in some capacity, but we're just offering a different solution and a chance, really, to build a platform that's going to sustain us over the next 50 years.
And there are other ways that you save customers money. For example, you pick up trash when it's full rather than just like 1/3 full. And what are some other ways that you're innovating the space?
So the incentives in the industry today are really perverse. A lot of the waste companies make money by additional pickups rather than reducing pickups. So for instance, when we engage with a national corporate client, we might find that they're getting picked up 2-3 times a week, but in actuality, they should be picked up 1 to 2 times a week. So we work on those efficiencies and provide the appropriate level of service for our customers. And that's just really a small piece of the value that we bring.
And that then also reduces greenhouse gas emissions because you have less trucks especially here in New York City. How often are we stuck behind a garbage truck?
That's right.
So you'll be reducing that quite a bit. So what's your vision for the company?
My belief is that Rubicon can be a company that can accomplish an incredible goal and really solve this problem of waste here in the United States and also globally. And I think it's going to be a testament to the entrepreneurial spirit that entrepreneurs can solve big problems. This past weekend, I had a chance to talk to Blake McCoskey from Tom's Shoes, and he's also an investor, as you know, and he's built an incredible business around this social mission. I think everybody loves the shoes, but we all get incredibly excited about being able to do good in the world. And as many of you know, millennials are getting so much buying power in our economy today, and they're actually making purchasing decisions based upon the good that companies do in the world. So it used to be that if you had a great product, that was enough. Today, you have to show the impact that you're having on your community and the world, I believe, to really engage with a new constituency of buyers that are out there today. And so we think that Rubicon certainly offers that mission and purpose, and it's really an easy win related to the environment to begin that relationship with the sustainability message within your company.
And how is technology critical to empowering the Rubicon vision?
So technology is certainly is the central nervous system that's been missing, if you will, from the industry today. There's very little, if any, technology, and as I mentioned, most of the systems that are being run today in the industry are very archaic. But technology is going to allow us real-time information, clean data. Like many of you all who cover healthcare, data integrity is a huge issue in our space. And that's because if you think about the major companies, they're just giant roll-ups. So they have these big brands, and they've cobbled together all these independent hauling companies under one national umbrella. And what happens is that each of those independent companies kind of has their own culture, their own way of doing business, and sometimes their own systems. And so there's this breakdown of data transferring from company to company, and that directly impacts the corporate customers that are looking and seeking that information and that clean data for their CSR reports, their sustainability reports. And as we've talked about a lot, Suna, waste tells a story. So you can learn a lot by somebody's garbage. That's the first place that private detectives look, right? They always go through your garbage to tell a lot about you as a person. But anthropologists study the first place that they look when they're studying ancient civilization is actually their garbage. But we believe it's going to tell a great story with our data and information for the customers and consumers that we serve about all the inefficiencies in their supply chain. How can they be a better business? And data is our currency as a business and how we take this industry forward.
I was actually having a conversation with Oscar Salazar, the former CFO of Uber, who was telling me he thinks this could be a $100 billion business, and that the real monetization is in the data. So we're excited to see how that plays out. That may still be undercover for a while. I'm not sure if you want to elaborate on
Well, certainly when the Uber guys are telling you that, I mean, we'll take it. So, but look, the waste industry today is, with recycling, it's about a $100 billion industry. Massive opportunity. And it's growing at light speed, given the increased population. Globally, it's about 600 billion. But I tell people all the time, there's enough garbage for us, all to build big companies. And, obviously, we think we have the way forward for the future.
Haven't SAP and IBM both tried to bring technology to the waste management space?
I think obviously these are great companies, and certainly the technology community has a certain perspective about the way you build a business. And Rubicon was built very differently than the typical venture-backed business. We started out bootstrapping the company. I'll tell people all the time, our co-founders and myself, we got started with about $10,000 using our credit cards. And we waited a long time to raise money. And we wanted to make sure that we understood the industry, we understood our model, we understood how we were going to make money. I know that's a big surprise to a lot of people in the crowd when they hear that a tech company is focused on making money. But we were dead set on building a great business first, and really understanding how we were going to execute long term. And one of the things that we discovered is that many of the technology companies, the IBMs and the SAPs, they both try to play heavily in our space. And with not a lot of traction, not a lot of success, and we said, look, let's go out and pay homage to this industry. Let's go out and win big national accounts. Let's use those as essentially opportunities to scale our business, learn from those customers, and then be able to layer on that technology over time. So we have a solution that's really custom designed for the customer, for the industry, and we have flushed out kind of all the pluses and minuses about how the business is going to work. So we've really built the business in the inverse of the way tech companies get built. Let's go out and get massive scale and then begin to apply the technology, because we always thought that if we just went out with a great technology product, that wouldn't be enough for many of the independent haulers that we serve to actually switch over. It would take time. Most of these independent haulers have been involved in these family-run businesses. They have their way of doing things, which has been great for them. But we knew we wanted to offer not only more contracts and more opportunity for market share, but also better technology to run their business more effectively and more efficiently.
So you're saying that some of the problems that SAP and IBM encountered was because they started with the tech first, which is how a lot of tech companies start, rather than starting with the underlying industry first and getting to know them, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why this industry has never been disrupted or never been tackled by Silicon Valley. It was always an interesting conversation being the guy from Kentucky who goes to San Francisco to raise money, and I tell them I'm from Kentucky, and then I'm a garbage guy, and they're like, there's the door. So, so it was hard conversations in the very beginning, but I think they've come around. So.
Fortune magazine recently wrote about every CEO's fear today, that the Uber syndrome, where a competitor with a completely different business model like Uber enters their traditional industry and flattens them. Do you think that some of your incumbents are worried about this?
Well, I don't really think about any of our competitors. Obviously, we have great respect for them, but our business model is totally different. And it really comes down to a choice. I think the Uber syndrome is real. As we all know, the economy is undergoing a dramatic shift because of technology. Assets are being objectified. The value is now in the process and in the data that you can control. But we've really learned a lot by watching many of these sharing economy models come to market. The Airbnbs, the Ubers, Lyft. I know Logan's here today. So they've been incredibly helpful. You mentioned Oscar Salazar, the co-founder of Uber, who's been very impactful in our business, as you know, as an investor and also advisor, and really helping us to build the early technology, the devices that actually go in the garbage trucks, and help us think about how big of an opportunity this is and how we use technology to address that. And Oscar's a genius, and he's been incredibly impactful to Rubicon. And then also getting Uber's former CFO on our board has been, understanding their financial model, how that applies to Rubicon, how that applies to the waste industry. And then recently, David Plouffe, he joined as an advisor to the business. And I think, a lot of the challenges that consumers and businesses are going to face related to our category is going to be regulation. I believe this is going to be a highly regulated category, and it's going to be a risk management issue going forward in the future. And also, as we begin to move into local governments, David's had a lot of that scar tissue, as you know, as many of the battles that he's undergone with Uber. So, we have a great understanding of the Uber syndrome. I'm not sure how our competitors feel about us, but obviously we're just keeping our head down and focusing on execution and building a great business.
Mm-hmm. And we've spoken about expansion beyond traditional waste. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I think that we have a tremendous opportunity with our platform. Obviously, it's it could eventually touch every household, could touch every business. The great news is that everybody's got garbage, so our technology is going to go a lot of places. That infrastructure is going to be incredibly valuable, for the decades to come. But also, there's so many categories that really run ancillary to that core waste contract. So that could be medical waste, electronic waste, cardboard, plastics, pallets. We get inquiries all the time. Are you going to do water and energy management? All these other categories that typically get paid as a commoditized service or good that people would love to roll up through their waste contract. So, we think we have an incredible platform to expand in the future, which gets us very excited.
Mm-hmm. What do you look for in an investor? I mean, this last round was massively oversubscribed.
Yeah.
With truly the top-level investors in the world who are also very hands-on. So what does it take to invest in a company like yours?
Yeah, and finding the right investor is really tough. I tell people all the time it's a lot like really serious dating. You have to really get to know the people. And, once you get an investor in, you better be sure that this is a long-term partnership and they have the business's best interest in mind and they're going to be a partner to you. As I mentioned, it took us a very long time to where we felt comfortable when we were ready to take our business model to go out and raise money. But we look for values, we look for culture. Obviously, they've got to be committed to our big purpose and how we're trying to solve this issue of eradicating landfills. And so, that certainly was one of our biggest criteria. And then obviously, finding great folks like Goldman Sachs, Wellington to step up for kind of the long term of the business and really prepare us for all the things that we believe are yet to come. But also, as we've talked about, guys like Barry Sternlicht, who've been transformational early on in the way that we thought, and also bringing in other investors as well to help us build a great business. Mm-hmm. So I have to ask a question because tell me what you thought about Rubicon and what got you excited about this investment. I know you've had such an incredible track record.
Thank you.
And I was so impressed, with your involvement and your investment in Palantir, Coupang, Instacart, the returns that you've posted. And I tell people all the time that Nima Capital is probably the best kept secret in venture capital. Uh, so tell me, what did you see in Rubicon? What did you see as the opportunity, and why did you invest?
Well, we were so excited when you came to us for so many reasons. First of all, it really fit our criteria for being first mover, winner take all, disrupting an extremely large industry, $100 billion nationally, $600 billion internationally. But then there were so many other aspects of your company that really made it stand out and that were completely unique. First of all, the team. You, like even Barry and some of our other investors, you know, who have met you, they say, my God, Nate could take over the world. He'll be successful no matter what he does. You have a persistence unlike anybody that I've ever met. And then you were able to surround yourself with the best in class in tech talent, with you know, senior level people from the Uber team, as well as best in class from the waste management industry. So an incredible team. And then another aspect of the company that was unique in terms of what we generally see is that you have Uber-like growth potential while having the downside protection of a traditional industry that is the most stable and consistently growing industry going back to 1900. And so we knew that this was also a recession-proof investment, which was something that was important to us going into this, you know, arena with high valuations, et cetera. And so my team and I felt that, if anything, if we were to go through a downturn, that Rubicon would not only survive, but actually thrive, because many of the small to medium-sized businesses that you're now going after are going to be even more desirous of the cost savings that you're able to provide them. What else made you really unique? The fact that, so you're environmentally friendly, you save your customers costs, massive opportunities for international expansion. I mean, China, India, places that have even way bigger trash problems than we do here in the US, that are huge economies that are ripe for disruption with tech. And you can monetize your data. And that's a huge play that we're looking forward to being a part of in many ways. And then, you know, as a tech company, to be generating revenue in such a stable way you're doing with, you know, big national accounts, and having proven out your model with some of the most difficult accounts, the most complicated ones in the country. I mean, everything about your company was really incredibly solid.
Well, well, you know, we were so honored to have your investment, and I tell people all the time, I think the only safer industry would be the funeral business. Right? It's got to happen. So that's always been a great advantage for what we're building at Rubicon.
So, what do you see for Rubicon in 5 years?
Well, you know, our goal at Rubicon is we want every piece of garbage in the country, so and hopefully the world. But I believe that Rubicon over the next 5 years is going to see tremendous growth, with the potential to go international, and with the potential to service all aspects of the industry, and really become the definitive platform for the industry and how the industry evolves. You know, I've been incredibly fortunate to have great people around the table, as you said, and people tell us all the time. It reminds me of kind of the inflection point that, you know, when the Amazons of the world entered the marketplace against the Barnes and Nobles, that when you know, technology and brick and mortar assets compete, technology is going to win every time. And we believe that that's going to continue to accelerate even for the years to come and make our proposition, our company, so much more transformative.
Mm-hmm. What can everyone in this room do to save costs on their waste management bills and to promote a more sustainable future?
Yeah, you know, it's a great question. I'm amazed that, you know, when we actually go into companies and we have the conversation about, you know, waste and recycling, even when I'm talking to CFOs, CEOs, and I get the feedback that, well, I have no idea what I spend on my garbage. Right. I have no idea that I could even save money with my garbage bill. I thought I had to pay this price. And so I would encourage everyone here today to look at your investments, to look at your portfolio. Everyone's talking about sustainability. I mentioned aspects related to millennials and how much impact they're going to have on your investments in your pocketbook. And if you don't have an environmental component to your business and values that are centered around how you move the planet forward, I believe you're going to be left behind. But you can do it in a free market way. You can let the free market lead that. A lot of times people always think that the environment is a lost leader and that you have to lose money to get a great outcome. But we've been able to prove that I believe that the free market's going to be the greatest catalyst for environmental change for the decades to come. And I would just encourage everyone here in the room and everyone listening that as you engage with your companies, ask those questions about what they're doing with waste and recycling. Are they using companies that primarily get all their returns and profits from landfilling? Or do they have an incentive to actually divert material from landfill and recycle more? As you know, I tell people all the time, we cannot continue to bury our problems. We've got to hit them head on.
Yeah.
And this is one of the oldest challenges and problems that's plagued us as a race of people since the beginning of time. So it's a very easy conversation and in a very non-intrusive way to begin that relationship and that DNA around the environment. And I hope you'll use Rubicon. I know you wanted me to say that, so.
I did want you to say that.
Yeah.
So what are some other areas about sustainability and environmental friendliness in terms of other aspects of what you're doing that you're excited about?
I'm really proud that that we're a benefit corporation. We were early supporters of that, and we worked with the guys from Warby Parker, guys from Patagonia, Method Soaps, The Honest Company, to raise awareness for benefit status. I believe it's the future of business, and I believe it's going to be one of the definitive ways that we encourage a whole new generation of entrepreneurs, not only to build great companies, but to make a huge impact in the world.
And also, I should mention Nate's mom is here. Can you just tell us the quote real quick, what she said to you when she heard that you were going into waste? Yeah.
So, it's not always an easy conversation to tell your mom what you've chosen as a vocation. And my mother was a single parent. It was just the two of us my whole life. And I remember sharing with her that I was going to start Rubicon, and she got really upset. I mean, she actually cried. She said, I didn't raise you to be a garbage man. You could have done so much more with your life. And I've worked so hard to get you opportunity that I didn't have. And the least that you could do is go into a respectable industry. Hopefully, I think she gets it now. So, I mean, she's okay.
I think she does. So, thank you.
Thank you.